Recently, Evolve Skateboards released a brand new version of their bash guard, the False Bash Guard Kit. Stick around to find out how to put one on your board and how to win one too, only on Rated E. Hello guys and welcome back to Rated E. In today's episode, we're here in the brand new Rated E workshop. We have something very special for you guys. We have the brand new, only just released False Bash Guard Kit from Evolve Skateboards. Let's check it out. If you're like me and you're a very aggressive rider, the False Bash Guard Kit is probably the best bet for you compared to the original Bash Guard Kit. Obviously, it had only bars, so when you're riding, you might get some stones chipping up and stuff, and it can affect your motors, of course. With the False Bash Guard Kit, it's a lot more of a wall in a sense. You're protecting your motors a lot more, and definitely looking way cooler doing it too. It's made from a durable 6061 alloy, which comes with a cool matte black finish. This Bash Guard Kit can definitely handle the most terrain possible, way better than the original Bash Guard Kit. And as a bonus, it's also a handle. So it does feel like it adds a little bit more weight to the board compared to the original Bash Guard Kit. However, this is not going to drain your range. It's a fairly small amount, and to be honest, if you eat a few cheeseburgers, it's probably the same amount of weight of what this Bash Guard Kit is anyway. So just so you know as well, this is only compatible with the GTR Series 2 boards and the Hadean. So anyone with a GTR Series 1 or below, a GT, a Gen 2, you know, all the older Evolve, it's not compatible unfortunately. But if you do have one of these boards, make sure you get one of these because it will make it look the best on the block. Okay, so on to the installation. So in the box, we've got one bash guard and two mounts for the bash guard and some screws. As a bonus, we have instructions this time. Now we've got all the parts ready. Let's go to the other workshop and install it. So when building the bash guard kit, you need the following tools: a 1/8 hex key, or my favourite, a drill with the same bit, Loctite, and don't forget the trusty white tool. You'll also need a 3/8 spanner. And now it's time to get started. So the first step is to simply just take off the wheels, take off the belts, take off the drive gears. Helps if I've done it the right way. Cool. Once you've done that, the next step is to loosen or remove, depending on your preference. Personally, I like to remove the motor plate. Got there in the end. Motor plate. So with your preferred hex tool, whether it's with the drill or with the actual Allen key itself, grab your 3/8, stick it on the bolt underneath where the base plate is, stick the 1/8 on top, and simply just undo it. If you find that you struggle being able to get to a certain angle, especially with the drill, I recommend switching to a hex key just so you can make sure you get that angle without having to round off the bolt in a sense. So once you get to this point where you've disconnected the base plate from the strut, what you next need to do is simply just disconnect the motors. Once you've disconnected the motor, what you can then do is simply just lift up the motor mount and you've got your motor free. I like to use tyres just to keep the board up so it's not all over the place and it keeps it nice and sturdy. What we need to do now with this motor plate is simply just grab one of these and attach it onto here. The best way to work out which one's which is if you look at the board from the back, this is the left motor. This one here is the left. On here, it has a little letter. This is the right one, so in this scenario, I do need the other one. Grab the other one here. What we need to work out next, when it is on here, where does this go? The bash guard kit simply goes underneath, so you want it to be underneath the board, underneath the motor, so when you ride along, that's how it should seem to fit. Once you've worked out the orientation of how your bash guard is going to attach to your motor plate, all you need to do then is flip over the motor, so you've got it in position where you need it. I need to grab two of the small screws that are available in the set of screws that you receive when you purchase the bash guard kit and put them in. So you have to be careful here because even though all these screws look almost the same, this one right here is smaller than this one. What that means is there's parts of the bash guard kit which need to have longer screws than the other. The longer screws most likely go in this. Just same as the original bash guard kit where we had the bars instead. And the shorter ones go through here into the motor plate. So now you can see I've attached the bash guard mount to the motor plate, and you can see this is the orientation it's going to go on to the board. The bash guard mount goes underneath, attached through here, and it's nice and secure once you tighten these up with Loctite, don't forget. So as recommended by the instructions, we highly recommend you use some Loctite of some kind. It doesn't have to be Loctite exactly, but just thread locker in general can be good. What you want to do is you want to grab your 4 small screws that you have received in the small pack, and simply every time you put one into the screw hole, you just want to put a little dab of Loctite right on the end here. So carefully does it. I'm going to slowly put this on. For my sake and my preference, I'm actually going to remove the motor because it's a lot easier to tighten it up with the drill than it is to do it hand. So remembering, here's the base plate, put it on the position that it needs to go on, like this. Then this goes back upwards onto there, so it fixes into that spot. Once you've done that, what you can then do is grab your motor plate, place it back onto the strut, and then grab your 3 flange bolts you would have taken off earlier that attach to the strut from the motor plate, and put them back on the board. Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, you then get your flange bolts and simply place them back into the holes where the strut is, and you line your motor back up again. Cool, so you grab your flange bolts, put them back in the holes so you secure the motor plate to the strut, and then prepare by grabbing the 3 nuts you would have had in the first place to essentially attach it back again. What you want to do is you want to make sure these are not tight. You just want them on there to keep it secure on the strut, but not tight. Just like that. Cool. So once you've got your motor plate loosely attached and with the nuts and bolts all tightened up, but not tightened up until it's super tight, until it just has a bit of play, the next step is to do the other side. It's good to mention that you do not need to have the motor nice and tight. You actually want it to be nice and loose, just because you're going to be adjusting it later on anyway to adjust the belt tension to put it back on anyway. So I do recommend having it loose. That is if you have taken it off to begin with. If you haven't, then there's no reason to worry about this. So now it's time for us to do the other side. What I recommend you do is grab your wheel. Don't worry about the drive gear. Just put it back on that strut. Grab your nut. Tie it up just with your hand. You don't need to get your tool. And it should be a lot easier to balance the board on the other side once you flip it over. Give it a second. There we go. So it might be good to mention at this point that when you actually tighten this back up, this side you want tight. This side is a loose side. Loose, tight. It's all down to you what you want to do, but we recommend having one of these loose so it has some play, and you'll see why in a moment, and one of them tight so it's fixed in place. So we've now got to this point where we've got one loose side and one tight side. This tight side, what you can then now do is actually adjust the belt tension and put your wheel back on just like how it was. The other side, we're going to flip it over and I'll show you what to do in a moment. So we're now at this point where we've got the wheel attached like normal on one side with the motor mount attached to the motor plate. On the other side, we've got ourselves a loose one. All we need to do now is bring the board back this way, and then you want to flip it back this way, so we've got this one, the loose one, on top again. So what we need to do then is remove this wheel here, undo that nut. Remember, you kept it on nice and loose, so it'd be really easy to take off. Put the nut to one side, put the wheel to one side, And now here's the fun part. Sticking the false bash guard kit on. So the next step is to grab your false bash guard, grab a screw, get some Loctite on it, and put it through here, tighten it up. Cool, so now you've done that, grab your wheel, stick it on, put the nut on it, flip it over, and do it again on the other side. Because I'm using 105s, I've actually taken it off the wheel just because it's a little bit harder to get to this screw. Remember, this is nice and loose, so you can now adjust this to exactly where you need it to be and keep it nice and secure there. Hold it tight, put your Loctite on, and there you go. That was a lot more Loctite than you should have, but at least you know it's staying. The smallest drop is enough. I like to put a blob, like, there you go, like a blob. Sweet. So there is actually one more step. Obviously you need to put your wheel back on, so let's slide this back into place. Grab your wire tool, make sure it's nice and tight. Turn it until it stops, and then do a quarter turn back just so it's got that nice loose feel to it, it's not stopping or making any resistance. Grab the board, flip it back to the original position you had it in with the loose motor plate. Just make sure the tyres are nice and straight. Pop it up on its side. Obviously this is still loose, so it might not seem as loose now because this is holding it in place, but you can see by these, you don't want these rattling around, of course. Cool, so grab your wire tool. Once again, take this wheel off. Make sure you don't lose the nuts. Pop it off. Grab your choice of spanner, stick it in place, and do all the bolts back up. Great, so the final step is simply just to put that wheel back on. Once you've got that wheel back on, you've got yourself a complete false bash guard on your board. We're almost done, we're almost done. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video and you learned how to put the false bash guard kit on your board. If you have any questions or queries, please put them in the comments and we'll be more than happy to help out. If you want to get a false bash guard kit, make sure you visit Evolve's website, depending on where you're based, and grab one as soon as possible because I'm pretty sure they're going to be selling that pretty damn quick. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel for more content like this and trike content and a bunch of other cool stuff. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.